Clarity is the quiet force that shapes how we live, work, and dream, yet it often goes unnoticed until its absence throws us into confusion. To speak of clarity is to speak of light breaking through fog, direction cutting through uncertainty of the mind, finding a place of calm purpose in the middle of life's noise. Without it, we stumble, distracted and hesitant, chasing too many paths without knowing which one will take us where we truly want to go. With it, the world opens, decisions become simpler, and our energy gathers into focused power. Clarity is not only about understanding words or messages, it is about aligning the inner world with the outer one so that what we think, what we say, and what we do all point in the same direction. Think of the times when life felt overwhelming, when responsibilities pressed down and choices seemed endless. In those moments, clarity is what separates action from paralysis. It is not that the problems shrink or the obstacles vanish, but rather that clarity cuts away the excess noise, revealing the core of what matters. When you know what matters, you find courage to let go of distractions, to decline opportunities that don't align with your purpose, to resist the temptation of living for approval or fear. Clarity is the discipline of saying, "This is me, this is my path, and this is what I will give my best to." It is not about being rigid, but about being awake, aware, and deliberate in a world that constantly tries to pull you in different directions. So much of human potential is wasted not because of lack of talent or opportunity, but because of lack of clarity. People drift from one idea to the next, one job to the next, one relationship to the next, searching for meaning without pausing long enough to ask themselves what they truly want. They mistake activity for progress, business for fulfillment, noise for impact. Clarity is the antidote to this restless drifting. It asks you to step back and strip away the layers of expectation, fear, and distraction until only the essential remains. It asks you to be brave enough to confront the simple but difficult question, what do I really want my life to stand for? When you answer honestly, even if the answer feels small at first, you begin to find a sense of freedom that no external recognition can give. Clarity is powerful because it transforms communication. When you are clear inside, you can express yourself with confidence outside. Your words carry weight because they are rooted in understanding. Great leaders throughout history moved people not because they had the loudest voices, but because they spoke with clarity. Their messages were simple, focused, and true. They did not try to say everything. They said the one thing that mattered and said it well. That is the magic of clarity in communication. It multiplies your influence. Instead of scattering your thoughts like seeds in the wind, clarity plants them deep in the soil of another person's mind where they can take root and grow. Clarity is also essential for resilience. Life will throw storms at you, and without clarity, those storms toss you around until you feel lost. But with clarity, you become like a lighthouse keeper who knows the position of the light even in the darkest night. You may be shaken, but you are not lost. You return again and again to what matters most, and from that place of stability, you can adapt without losing yourself. People often think strength comes from force, but true strength comes from clarity. When you are clear about your values and your direction, you cannot be easily manipulated, nor can you be broken by every obstacle. You bend without snapping because your clarity gives you an inner compass. Clarity also creates energy. Confusion drains us because it scatters our attention in 1,000 directions. We waste hours thinking about what to do, where to start, whether we are enough, whether others will approve. But clarity simplifies all of that. It turns effort into momentum because your focus is not divided. It's like the difference between sunlight scattered over a field and sunlight concentrated through a magnifying glass. One warms, the other ignites. Clarity transforms ordinary energy into fire. That is why some people, even with fewer resources, achieve extraordinary things. They are clear about what they want, why they want it, and how they will pursue it. Every step they take compounds in the same direction. It is important to remember that clarity is not something you find once and keep forever. It is a practice, something you renew every day. Life changes, seasons shift, and what once was clear may blur under new pressures and desires. That is why you must return often to yourself, to silence, to reflection, to questions that peel away the unnecessary. Ask yourself often, am I being honest about what I want, or am I just following the noise? Am I living in alignment with my values, or am I compromising them to fit in? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are the doors to clarity. And once you open them, the path becomes brighter, no matter how difficult it is. In relationships, clarity is a gift you give both yourself and others. When you are clear about your feelings, your boundaries, and your intentions, you save yourself and others from the pain of misunderstanding. Many conflicts in families, friendships, And partnerships are not caused by malice but by lack of clarity. People expect without speaking, assume without asking, or hide their truth out of fear. But clarity dissolves the fog. It may not always make things easier, but it makes them real, and from reality, true connection can grow. To be clear is to be respectful, to say this is where I stand, and this is how I care, and this is what I cannot accept. That kind of clarity may feel difficult in the moment, but it builds trust, and trust is the foundation of every meaningful bond. Above all, clarity is about living with intention. Too many people let days slip by as if time is endless, but clarity reminds us that time is limited and precious. Each choice, each hour, each word is shaping who we are becoming. When you live with clarity, you stop drifting and start designing. You stop blaming circumstances and start creating meaning. You stop waiting for permission and start giving yourself the freedom to act. Clarity whispers that your life is yours to define and that the power to shape it has always been within you. And when you truly embrace that, you begin to shine with a quiet, steady light that guides not only yourself but also those around you. Relevance is the bridge between effort and impact, the force that makes our actions meaningful and our words memorable. Without relevance, even the most polished ideas fade into the background, unnoticed and unappreciated. With it, the simplest message can spark change, inspire movement, or transform a life. To live with relevance is to live with awareness of context, of timing, of connection. It is to understand that what we do matters most when it speaks directly to the needs, the desires, and the realities of those around us. Relevance is not about being flashy or constantly reinventing yourself to please others. It is about anchoring your purpose in what truly matters, then communicating and acting in ways that touch hearts and open minds. When you think about the people who left the greatest impact on history, they were not always the most talented or the most resourceful, but they were relevant to the moment they lived in. They sensed what people longed for, what problems needed solving, what truths were being ignored. Then they stepped forward with courage, aligning their vision with the needs of their time. Relevance is what makes your message resonate in a noisy world. You can shout as loud as you want, but if your words do not connect with the moment, they vanish like echoes in an empty canyon. Yet a whisper, spoken with perfect relevance, can ripple across generations. In personal growth, relevance demands that you focus on what is essential rather than what is simply urgent. So often, we get trapped in cycles of business, answering every call, chasing every trend, and yet none of it adds up to significance. Relevance asks us to pause and ask, is this action serving my purpose? Is this choice aligned with where I want to go? Is this moment asking me to step up in a particular way? When you live with relevance, you stop wasting time on things that drain your spirit and begin investing in things that multiply your meaning. You become a person who does not just survive the day, but leaves a mark on it. Relevance also transforms communication. Imagine standing in front of an audience and giving a speech filled with impressive words, but disconnected from their lives. No matter how well you deliver it, their hearts remain untouched. Now imagine instead that you speak directly to their struggles, their dreams, their fears. Suddenly they lean in, they feel understood, they remember your words. That is the power of relevance. It creates connection. When your message is relevant, people feel that you see them, that you understand their world, and that you are offering something that matters in that exact moment. This is why great communicators are not just great talkers, they are great listeners. They observe, they empathize, they tune themselves to the frequency of others before they speak. Relevance is not only about others, it is also about staying true to yourself in a changing world. It is easy to confuse relevance with trend chasing, but true relevance does not require you to abandon your values or your identity. Instead, it asks you to express your truth in a way that connects with the moment. It is about adaptability, about finding fresh expressions of timeless principles. A song, a story, a lesson, a business, or a life becomes relevant when it bridges the eternal and the current, when it honors what lasts while speaking to what is needed now. To live with relevance is to be rooted and flexible at the same time, never losing your essence while constantly learning how to reach hearts in new ways. Think about relevance in relationships. How often do people feel unseen or unheard because someone they love is not present to what truly matters in that season? A friend who keeps talking about themselves while you are silently struggling misses the chance to be relevant to your pain. A parent who insists on old advice without recognizing the new challenges of a child's world risks pushing them away. Relevance in relationships means being attentive, meeting people where they are, and offering the right word or the right silence at the right time. It is not about being perfect, but about being awake to the needs of the moment. The most cherished memories we hold often come from moments when someone was deeply relevant to us, when they said exactly what we needed to hear, or stood beside us when it mattered most. Relevance also demands courage. Sometimes what is most relevant is not what is most popular. Sometimes the moment asks you to say the hard truth when everyone else is silent, or to challenge a comfortable lie when everyone else is nodding. To be relevant is to be willing to risk misunderstanding or resistance, because what you offer is what the moment truly needs. Think of those who stood up for justice when silence was safer, who spoke of hope when despair was easier, who dared to innovate when tradition felt secure. Their relevance was born of courage, and because of that, their voices still echo long after their time. At a personal level, relevance gives life its sense of purpose. Each day you are offered countless paths to walk, countless distractions to follow, countless voices demanding your attention. If you try to answer them all, you spread yourself thin and lose yourself in the noise. But when you choose relevance, you select the few things that truly matter and pour yourself into them. You stop trying to live every life and begin to live your life. That choice brings peace because relevance clears away the pressure to do everything and reminds you that you are called to do something specific, something meaningful, something that aligns with who you are and what the world around you truly needs. Relevance is a source of motivation because it answers the question, why does this matter? When you know why something matters to you, to others, to this moment, you find energy to keep going even when the work is hard. A task without relevance feels heavy and endless, but a task tied to relevance feels like purpose in motion. You are no longer dragging yourself forward. You are pulled forward by the significance of what you are doing. That is why clarity and relevance go hand in hand. Clarity tells you what matters to you, and relevance tells you how what matters to you connects with the world around you. Together, they give you the power to move with conviction and impact. Ultimately, relevance is about contribution. It is about leaving the world a little different because you were here, not just because you existed, but because you paid attention to what was needed and responded with heart. Relevance whispers that your gifts are not accidents, that your struggles are not wasted, and that your presence can be meaningful if you choose to connect it to the moment you are living. The world does not need you to be everything. It needs you to be something real, something aligned, something that touches the lives around you in ways that matter. To live with relevance is to live awake, to live engaged, to live with the courage to meet the needs of your time. Structure is the skeleton that holds together dreams, ideas, and actions. Without it, even the most powerful vision collapses under its own weight, scattering into fragments of potential that never take form. With it, what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, what once seemed impossible becomes a series of steps, and what once looked like chaos transforms into a clear path forward. Structure is not about limitation, it is about liberation. It does not exist to cage your creativity or suffocate your spirit, but to give them a framework strong enough to thrive. Structure is the silent ally of greatness, the discipline that turns sparks of inspiration into fires that warm and illuminate lives. Every human being has felt the pull of inspiration, that rush of energy that comes when an idea lights up your heart. But without structure, inspiration fades. You promise yourself you will write the book, build the business, change your life, but days pass, distractions grow, and the dream remains a dream. Structure is the bridge between inspiration and realization. It takes the vast, formless energy of desire and channels it into focused effort. Imagine water spilling across a field. Without direction, it spreads thin and loses power. Now imagine the same water flowing through a riverbed. Its force amplified, its direction clear. That is what structure does for human energy. It turns the scattered into the powerful. Structure also creates confidence. Uncertainty paralyzes because the mind fixates on the enormity of the task ahead. But when structure enters, the impossible becomes approachable. You no longer stare at the mountain as a whole. You see the trail that winds upward step by step. You realize you do not need to conquer everything at once. You only need to take the next step within the framework you have built. This is how great achievements are born. Not from sudden leaps, but from structured persistence, from the daily rhythm of progress that compounds into transformation. Structure whispers that consistency will always defeat chaos, that order will always multiply effort. In personal growth, structure is the difference between wishing for change and experiencing it. Many people set goals at the beginning of the year, but abandon them by the second month because they lacked a structure to sustain their motivation. A vision without a system is like a seed without soil. It cannot grow. Structure provides the soil, the conditions, the routine that nurtures the seed until it becomes a tree. You cannot will yourself into growth through passion alone. You must shape your environment, your habits, and your time so that they carry you forward even when motivation fades. That is the hidden gift of structure. It carries you on the days when you feel weak, reminding you that discipline will finish the work that passion begins. Structure also strengthens communication. A message delivered without order confuses the listener, no matter how profound its content. But when your ideas are arranged with structure, an introduction that draws people in, a flow that builds understanding, a conclusion that leaves a mark, your words resonate deeply. Great storytellers are not only creative, they are structured. They know when to pause, when to build tension, when to release it, and how to leave a lasting impression. Structure in communication is what makes the difference between noise and narrative. It ensures that your message not only reaches people but stays with them. In leadership, structure is what transforms vision into movement. Leaders who dream without structure inspire briefly but fail to sustain action. Leaders who impose structure without vision suffocate their teams, but leaders who balance both create organizations that thrive. Structure gives clarity to roles, direction to energy, and rhythm to work. It ensures that people know not only what they are working toward, but also how they will get there. It prevents burnout by dividing massive goals into manageable responsibilities, and it builds trust because people feel guided, not lost. Structure in leadership is not about control. It is about creating a framework where freedom, creativity, and accountability coexist. Structure also protects us from chaos in our personal lives. Consider time, the one resource none of us can replenish. Without structure, time slips away unnoticed, consumed by distractions and trivialities. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and suddenly we wonder where life went. But when you give time a structure, through routines, priorities, boundaries, you reclaim it as your own. You begin to live deliberately instead of reactively. You realize that life is not measured by how much you cram into your schedule, but by how intentionally you shape your moments. Structure allows you to say no to what does not serve you and yes to what truly matters. It reminds you that while you cannot control the length of your life, you can control its depth. In relationships, structure might seem like the opposite of spontaneity, yet it is structure that allows love to flourish over time. A relationship without any structure drifts into neglect, with both people assuming the other will always be there while attention and care fade. But when you build structure into love, whether through rituals of connection, regular communication, or shared responsibilities, you create a foundation that sustains passion through seasons. Structure does not kill romance, it protects it by ensuring that even in the busiest of times, love is not forgotten. It says, I value this enough to create space for it. What makes structure truly motivational is that it frees you from the illusion that you must rely on willpower alone. Willpower is a limited resource, easily drained by stress, temptation, and fatigue. But structure reduces the need for constant decision making by embedding your values into your habits and routines. Instead of waking each morning asking, should I work on my goal today? Structure makes it automatic. Instead of debating whether to act, you simply follow the framework you've built. Over time, this consistency compounds into transformation, and what once required discipline becomes second nature. Perhaps the most inspiring truth about structure is that it does not diminish creativity. It multiplies it. Creativity without structure often burns out quickly, lost in a tangle of unfinished ideas. But when structure supports creativity, it provides the canvas on which imagination can paint without limit. Think of a musician. Structure provides rhythm, scales, and timing, but within that framework, infinite music can be born. Think of a writer. Structure has grammar, storytelling arcs, and pacing, but within that, entire worlds unfold. Far from confining, structure expands potential, giving your ideas a form strong enough to reach others. At its core, structure is about respect. Respect for your dreams, your time, your energy, and the people around you. It is easy to treat dreams casually, to hope they will somehow come true on their own. But when you build structure, you declare that your dreams matter enough to be taken seriously. You declare that your life matters enough to be lived with intention. Structure is not about perfection, it is about progress. It is about creating a framework where each day contributes to something bigger, where effort accumulates into legacy. To embrace structure is to say, I will not leave my life to chance. I will shape it step by step, choice by choice, until it becomes the masterpiece it was meant to be. Impact is the echo of our existence, the mark we leave on the world long after the moment has passed. It is the difference between simply passing through life and truly living in a way that matters. Impact is not measured by how loudly you speak, how much wealth you accumulate, or how many titles you earn. It is measured by the lives you touch, the change you spark, and the inspiration you leave behind. Every human being carries the potential to create impact, whether through grand gestures that shift societies or small acts of kindness that shift a single heart. The beauty of impact is that it multiplies. One action, one word, one decision can ripple outward in ways you may never see, affecting people you may never meet. To live with impact is to recognize that your presence in this world is not neutral. You are either lifting others up or leaving them unchanged, and every day you have the choice to make your influence count. Impact begins with intention. Many people underestimate the effect they can have because they imagine impact as something distant or enormous. They think only world leaders, celebrities, or innovators can leave a legacy worth remembering. But impact does not start at the top. It starts with one decision to show up with purpose where you are. A teacher who believes in a struggling student creates impact. A friend who listens without judgment creates impact. A leader who chooses integrity over convenience creates impact. These choices may seem small, but they ripple across time in ways that outlast the moment. What matters is not the size of the action, but the depth of its authenticity. Impact flows naturally when what you do is aligned with who you are and what you believe. To create impact, you must first understand that it requires courage. Impactful lives are rarely comfortable because impact challenges the ordinary. It asks you to speak when silence is easier, to act when hesitation is safer, to rise when others shrink. Those who create impact do not wait for perfect circumstances. They act despite the risk of failure, misunderstanding, or rejection. They know that their role is not to be applauded, but to be effective. Impact often looks like sacrifice before it looks like success. It is the parent who works tirelessly to give their children opportunities they never had, the entrepreneur who risks everything to solve a problem that matters, the artist who pours their soul into work that may not be recognized until long after they are gone. True impact requires a willingness to give even when the outcome is uncertain, trusting that meaning lies in the offering itself. Impact also thrives on clarity and relevance. When you are clear about your values and your direction, you channel your energy with focus. When your actions are relevant to the needs of your time and the lives of others, your influence multiplies. Impact is not created by scattering yourself in every direction, but by aligning your gifts with the needs around you. You may not be able to change everything, but you can change something. You may not solve every problem, but you can address the one in front of you. And when you do, your impact is real. People often paralyze themselves by trying to imagine how to change the whole world. But the truth is, the world is changed by individuals who chose to impact the world immediately around them. One seed planted in one patch of soil can grow into a tree that shelters generations. Impact demands consistency. A single act can inspire, but sustained action creates transformation. Think of those who left legacies that endured. It was not because of one moment of brilliance, but because of repeated choices over years, often decades. Impact compounds. The mentor who shows up week after week, the activist who continues despite setbacks, the craftsman who refines their work over a lifetime. These people prove that impact is built through endurance. It is not about impressing people once, but about serving them again and again until the service itself becomes part of who you are. Consistency in impact is powerful because people begin to trust not only your actions, but your character. They know you are not here to dazzle temporarily, but to contribute steadily. What makes impact deeply motivational is the truth that it outlives you. Material possessions fade, achievements are forgotten, but the way you make people feel, the way you shift their perspective, the way you empower them to rise, these remain. Your impact becomes part of their story, and when they go on to impact others, your influence multiplies across time and space. This is legacy, not fame, but influence that continues to grow even when you are no longer here. To live with impact is to plant trees under whose shade you may never sit. It is to accept that the greatest rewards of your life may not even be visible to you, but they will exist nonetheless in the lives you have touched. Impact is not about perfection. Many people hold back from making an impact because they think they are not ready, not wise enough, not successful enough. But the world does not need perfect people. It needs real people willing to care, willing to act, willing to offer what they have. Your imperfections do not disqualify you from making an impact. They make your impact relatable. People are not inspired by flawless masks, but by authentic lives. When you share your struggles as well as your strengths, you give others permission to believe they can rise too. In this way, your scars can become sources of healing and your brokenness can become a bridge for others. At its heart, impact is about love. It is about caring enough to make a difference, about choosing generosity over indifference, about lifting someone else even when you gain nothing tangible in return. Love expressed in action creates the deepest impact. Think of the moments in your own life that shaped you most. They were likely not moments of grand speeches or dramatic gestures, but moments when someone saw you, believed in you, or supported you when you needed it most. That is impact, and it is within your power to offer it daily. Every smile, every encouragement, every act of service is a chance to leave the world brighter than you found it. The call to live with impact is not reserved for a select few. It is a call for everyone. It does not matter your age, your status, or your circumstances. As long as you are alive, you have the capacity to influence the world around you. The question is not whether you will have an impact. You will. The question is what kind of impact you will choose to have. Will your presence uplift or diminish? Will your actions contribute or consume? Will your life echo with meaning or fade into silence? Each day is a chance to answer that question, not with words, but with choices. To live with impact is to live with urgency, not the panic of rushing, but the awareness that time is limited and precious. None of us knows how many days we are given, but each day we are given is an opportunity to create a ripple of goodness, truth, and strength. Do not wait for the perfect moment to make a difference. The perfect moment is now. Do not underestimate the small act. The small act can change everything for someone. Do not assume that someone else will step up. The call has come to you. Your impact is not something you stumble upon at the end of your life. It is something you build in every conversation, every decision, every choice to rise rather than shrink. And when you choose impact, you choose a life that will be remembered not for what you took, but for what you gave.